let's move on and start talking about the next matchup. More relegation talks for this one. PNC versus Zalae. Both players currently tied in 6/7 down at the bottom, with Race being one match behind both of these players. So whoever takes this win not only bumps himself up in the standings, but also bumps one of their key opponents down to help give them a little bit of buffer. So I think a big match for both players.
Yeah, and the difference in the lineup, PNC has Holy Wrath Paladin, Zalae has the Shaman in that spot. They both have Malagos Druid, which I thought was going to be the difference initially and why we're seeing the different bans come out. But actually it's the Holy Wrath Paladin that's influencing that, and it's why Zalae gets to keep his Druid and gets his Warrior banned, whereas PNC gets to keep his Warrior and has his Druid banned. And that's because Zalae does not have to worry about getting a Holy Wrath Paladin win through, so he's happy to leave that Warrior up.
Yeah. And other than that, we see Malagos, the Malagos Druid on both sides. Zalae, one of the most prominent Shaman players. Shaman's being cut from more and more lineups. Last week it was like Warrior being cut from some lineups, but this week it feels like Shaman's the one that's being cut from a lot of lineups. I don't know if that's the case in Europe as well, but I feel like Warrior's way more popular. At least in the last 2 weeks, we've had 3 or 4 players that didn't bring Warrior, where this week it seems like very few.
Yeah, I think Warrior is slightly more common in Europe as well, but I think because of the success that a lot of the top players at the top of the standings, like Bunny Hopper, for example, is having incredible success with Shaman and keeps even protecting it and banning it from his opponent. That's the level of respect that he has from it. That is trickling down a little bit more, so I think we see a little bit more Shaman in EU than you do over here, and it's still, but it's like the 3rd or 4th most popular deck, right?
Yeah. One thing that has always stood out to me is Zalae feels like a different approach to some matchups than a lot of players. Most of the time that's a positive approach, because him, kind of like Firebat, likes to simplify things down.
Yep.
Which I think that sometimes in some metagames does not work because there's a lot more going on. But the decks that he likes to bring and the decks that he likes to play, oftentimes that is like a correct assumption, where if you kind of simplify things down to, playing a big thing, drawing a card, hitting them for damage, pushing for tempo, that's a good thing. And I think that Zalae did have a good series yesterday in his matches, as well as PNC, outside of one PNC moment where he roped and missed an attack.
Yeah.
I don't think that mattered at the end of the day.
No. Had to grill him about it, though. It's got to be done.
Yes, we had to. That's the good thing about the winner's interview, is that we can talk to them about their misplays because they won. So at the end of the day, it's a positive outcome. But it is always fun, and PNC always has at least one moment in every match that he plays that makes us a little bit nervous. Whether he misses something or doesn't, whether he goes all the way down to the rope and at the very last second finds a play that's better.
Yeah.
Which also happened yesterday.
Yeah. He found a play that was better than not only what his mouse cursor was leaning towards, but also what we were suggesting as well. He did something I was like, oh yeah, that's just better.
And it was in this very matchup, which was Priest versus Priest. It was a creative use of Interfire, I believe. So
I must consider.
We'll see if you can do the same today. Starts off with Light Warden, both players with Bonsamdi in their opening hands, but I think overall, outside of the fact that PNC has the board first, I like Zalae's hand a little bit better.
I like Zalae's hand. I like that PNC is going first. I think the importance of that cannot be overstated in the Priest Mirror. The fact that you get to make the first attack means that you do stuff like this, and then the game ends. Boom!
And a Northshire Cleric picked up on the backside.
Yep. I'm sorry, Zalae. No one wants to be on the receiving end of this. Inner Fire is just the card in the Priest Mirror. Zalae says, well, if you're killing this cleric, you're going to give me a card out of the deal.
Yeah. He did have the very high upside of drawing one of the silences that's in his deck. Zalae plays 2. I'm curious if he considered a Power Word Shield on the Light Warden, if it's that bad of a situation, right? Where he feels like he needs the cards from the Northshire Cleric at some point and needs silence right now to win the game. But at the very least, this will force a heal out of PNC in order to deal with this. And in which case, Zalae draws an extra card, right? So, but now he can silence and then Northshire Cleric and heal.
Yeah, I wonder if you even do, though.
Well, I mean, you give him a card if you heal and trade over it the normal way.
Yes. But I'm trying to think of worlds. Like, how much power do you have in play? You have 6 power in play at the end of this turn. Well, plus the cleric, so you have 7. So yeah, I think from this point onwards, you can kill anything else that you want to kill on board and don't have to worry about the silence.
Consider.
Yeah, right, sure. I'm denying the card.
It is his only silence. PNC only plays 1. Zalae has cut a Wild Pyromancer in order to make way for the second silence, if you consider the standard list, like the Hunter's original One Somnambulist as the standard list.
Yes. Or as we call it here in the best region, the Americas, the Bloody Face list plus Bwonsamdi.
Yes, that's correct.
It took you a minute, that one.
Yeah, I forgot.
You glared at me blankly
what?
for a very long time.
Oh, boy. This is going to take some very creative lines in order to get out of this one from Zalae.
Yes. Or an enormous throw from PNC. That is also a possibility.
Yeah, but there's not as many variables with Priest when you're ahead on board by this much this early. Usually you're just playing your stuff and healing your stuff and killing all of their stuff.
We nearly saw it again from Tice in Europe, right? Like, there was a 8-minion board, I think, that he left a cleric on, and Silvername was 1 card draw off killing him with Circle of Healing when Tice just had 7 minions in play against 1 or something like that. Like, it happens.
My God. If the Lords of Blizzard had come down from on high and asked PNC which order he would like his cards to be in that game, I'm pretty sure he would have chosen exactly that. Yeah, there's an argument for maybe you want Northshire Cleric on 1 instead, but when you look at the end of that game and Circle of Healing giving the Light Warden even more attack, you're perfectly happy with the Northshire Cleric being drawn on 3 instead of on 1.
That was the dream. And
oh
like,
my gosh.
The point I was making kind of got lost in the impact of the Inner Fire draw, but that's a very real thing. Like, the quality of hands, there needs to be a big discrepancy before it means that the player going second is in a favorable position.
Yeah.
Because there are awkward spots you can put your opponent in. Like turn 1 Light Warden, and you respond with turn 2 Injure Tolvir. That's actually a good exchange for you most of the time. But the problem is that the times that it's good for you, it's slightly good for you, and then they get to respond. The times that it's bad for you, because they're going first and they get to attack first,
you
lose the game immediately.
Yeah. But, you know, that's that's the way the cookie crumbles right now, where Priest mirrors are deciding game 1s a lot of the time. So, you know, it's not always the case that the player that wins the Priest mirror, if there is one in game number 1, goes on to win the series, because a lot of times, you know, when lineups are similar like that, the Priest is going to find wins elsewhere. Because both players are protecting Priest, they're banning something that's good against Priest. So Zalae still has Priest in his lineup to try and counter whatever PNC is going to do.
Yes, the good news about losing the Priest mirror is that you still get to play Priest.
You still get to play Priest. But it just gives you that, you know, one poor draw with Priest to losing the series.
And we've seen Shaman beat Priest. We've seen Druid beat Priest. Like, it happens. It's not like these matches are 100-0. Like, Priest can draw dead. You can, you know, finagle your way out of very difficult situations with some high-skill play from those decks, as we've seen from the likes of Bunny Hopper and so on. So, all in the balance.
And one of the things about casting with you is that I oftentimes forget that I'm the host, in that we tend to go to breaks after
you were just waiting for someone else to throw to a break.
I was waiting for someone else to.
Don't worry, I got you. I'll do it. It's fine. It's fine. You just sit back. I got this one. Guys, plenty more of this Hearthstone action coming up. We'll see the conclusion of this series right after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks.
stronger than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. There's surely scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. High stakes think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave, evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save the world.
My name is Francisco Fraile Montas. One of my best friends came out with my nickname. We were all getting like nicknames with 3 letters for some reason, like 13 years old. My name is Francisco, and Francisco's called Pancho. So it's just like 3 letters from that, PNC. One interesting thing about me that most people don't know is that I used to study ancient history. I quit for Hearthstone a couple of years, but plan on going back at one point. My favorite Hearthstone Esports moment was when I topped like lethal 2016 Copa America Finals. That was like my first big win, and I was very, very happy. It's like finally all that I worked for coming true. Beating Grandmasters for me means that all the hard work that I put in last years and all the time that I spent the game is paying off. My favorite thing about Grandmasters would be that I get a chance to prove myself like on the big stage. What makes me unique as a player, I would say, is just bringing very complicated decks to tournament. It's mostly combo decks that people usually don't play. My personal goals this year will be to earn as much money as I can, of course, and yes, improve as a player and play the best I can.
My name is Paul Nemeth, aka Zalae, and you can find me on Twitter at ZalaeHS, and more importantly, my stream, twitch.tv/ZalaeHS. Tune in, twitch.tv/ZalaeHS. A day in my life, I wake up when I feel like it, then I go to the gym when I feel like it, after that I stream when I feel like it, and then after that, I try and do something productive, and it doesn't always work. My personal goals for this year, I prefer to make short-term goals. So I try to live each day as best I can and make good decisions in the moment. And I don't focus too much on long-term goals because that can be complicated. And I think it's good to keep things simple and focus on what's important in the here and now. You know, it would be pretty cool if I could be first place in the Grandmasters system, but to be completely honest, I don't expect that. Just saying's a little bigger than me. Yeah, second place. That seems like a realistic goal. I could probably finish second place in the Grandmasters program. But I feel like second place it's a nice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to America's Grandmasters. I'm TJ, joined by Soddle. We're approaching the halfway point for the day. Currently, PNC leads Zalae 1-0 after taking the Priest Mirror in game number 1. But now we're going to move to Shaman versus Paladin. Shaman versus Zalae, Paladin for PNC, which is a matchup that I quite enjoy. Pretty much anything versus Paladin that's not the mirror I enjoy because it's a tug of war. Back and forth between pressure, card draw, and removal. It's a 3-way tug of war.
Nice.
One rope with connected in the middle with 3 ends.
I do love a good 3-way. Spell War Jeweler, though, in the Shaman deck. Come on, you can't just laugh at me like that. The Spell War Jeweler in the Shaman deck, though, adds a 4th dimension even to Proceedings. That's a whole other thing that has to be played around. I think in Amnesiac's position, potentially we didn't really see the full power of that Spellward Jeweler come into play.
Yeah.
It was kind of, you called it a big anticlimax in that position because it came down in that position. There's only one space left on board. He couldn't really play around the position. We were talking to Bloodyface about it. And he's like, oh, maybe Amnesiac kind of messed himself up with the board space because he either needed to Life Drinker or Spellward Jeweler that turn to stay alive and potentially needs to bounce those back to his hand to keep going. So hopefully we see the Spellward Jeweler have a much stronger dynamic in this matchup because I'm really interested to see how it plays out in the late game.
Yeah. If Zalae were to watch the series yesterday, he probably saw the exact situation that happened where it was board space that was an issue.
Right.
And so you just have to kind of tailor your board to not get to the point where the timing is just weird, where you need to bounce back the Spellward Jeweler and you just don't have the space or the time to do so. But because of... That's a lot of lackeys.
That is a lot of lackeys.
We hunger for vengeance.
Maybe he'll just never play the quest.
Maybe this is just lackey shaman.
Yeah. Now gets to play quest and draw a card. It's an 8-card hand right now. He would spend 2, replace 1, so he'd still have hand space left for these 2 lackeys.
Yeah, curious whether instead he might want to fight for the board position to try and preserve these evil totems in play yet another turn, like use the Rush Lackey here or use the Sandstorm Elemental to try and protect one of his evil totems for the next turn.
Okay, so Sandstorm Elemental and Titanic Lackey could be good.
I think maybe I think Quest probably does come down this turn.
Yeah. I forgot about that part.
Just, point it out to you in the most polite way possible.
You just assume that they just always have the quest.
So yeah, you can go Lackey plus Rush Lackey or Sandstorm Elemental to just try and protect these totems for a little bit longer. Play around like Elven Archer or Pyromancer plus Spell. Actually, Pyromancer plus Spell you wouldn't play around. So Titanic Lackey is actually better than Rush Lackey? Yeah, this makes sense.
Would get his board cleared for Consecration.
Sure.
That's something to think about. And also, there was an interesting decision with the Ethereal Lackey, because he had the option for Lava Burst or Big Bad Voodoo. Big Bad Voodoo gives you
I hope you like my invention.
room to play around AoE,
I hope you
whereas
like my
Lava Burst is oftentimes some much-needed damage from hand. Oh, 3 combo pieces picked up on the last 3 draws.
Yeah, that is an ugly-looking hand.
Yep.
That is a fantastic-looking draw if he can find an Evolve Lackey to go along with it. Even without it, 0 mana 3/4 rush. Sign me up.
Wouldn't it be cool if there was a card that was trigger your end of turn effects?
Didn't that exist? Oh no, it was your end of turn effects happen twice.
Your
right?
end of
That's
turn
what
effects
happened,
happen twice.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's been an
No.
trigger your end of turn effects. I'm trying to think how you could break that though. I'm pretty sure some end of turn effects are just.
I wonder.
Of course it's the right
I
way.
don't know. Be cool though. Sorry for the derailing, but just a thought that popped into my head.
Thinking of making the transition to the game team, TJ?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Nowhere near intelligent enough.
The Cora route, as it has become known.
Yeah. Props to her, because I'm pretty sure she's just way smarter than I'll ever be. The game would just die horribly if I... Every card in the set would be trigger your end of turn effects.
Just 80 different minions with different stat lines that all
I mean, at this point, we can make it a keyword.
Consecration, very much 1 turn late for PNC in this position. Extra 2/3 and a 3/4 got added to this board.
Yeah. It's hard for me to find even a card that he could pick up off Flashlight that would make this situation like more appealing. I mean,
Right.
the benefit that he has is Zalae has 2 cards on the board, which... Oh!
Nice. No, I like this. I like this a lot.
Okay. That would have been cool if it was 25.
Would have been a great clip for people at home to make and then spam on Twitter so lots of people watch it. And then if it was the most watched of all the clips, TJ, what would they get?
20 Saviors of Uldum packs.
Whoa. But yeah, this kind of desperation game against Shaman, I think I was talking about this yesterday, but you can sometimes think that your out is just, all right, I'm just not clearing this board. They can just have it. I'll take minimal damage each turn and try and just kind of finesse my way through the game while taking, you know, upwards of 5 or 6 damage each turn, but hope that the board being full just slows down their aggression enough that you're able to find your way out of it.
We did talk about board space.
Yep. It's a big deal.
And yeah, I was thinking Zalae probably got to start getting rid of these evil totems because it's going to get awkward.
1/8 drop, please.
Lord Malakras still protected from, you know, a lot of what PNC can do, but you know, while Pyromancer quality, and also if PNC just kind of leaves this board as is, he's not threatening as much.
But that was an important turn from Zalae because, first and foremost, he added some pressure to the board. It wasn't as much as he would have liked, 3/4 into 5/5, but it was an upgrade nonetheless. So now PNC really has, like, ignore this board off the table as an option. And he also said, all right, I've had enough fun with these evil totems by now. Just, you know, to play around overdrawing, make sure he picks up key cards later on that can add to this burst damage. I think it was a very well-structured turn from Zalae. So now PNC is kind of exclusively on like clear outs or just like shrink rate and sit there outs, which are both kind of scary with the amount of damage that he's taken.
Yeah, I like the heal plus choose over. He's not being threatened by lethal. It is a significant amount of damage, but he can't afford to use a timeout in this position. It's just way too early in the game, and there's just no follow-up to it.
Agreed.
But he does set up for, like you mentioned, the potential clears for next turn. Consecration on this board would just be a clear, and then he can try and stabilize out after that. Well, it would be almost a clear. He'd leave a 2-1 up if he chooses to attack into the Hexlord Malakras. Crystology, a welcome sight, though. He still has Acolyte of Pain as well as Elven Archer. So actually, with Crystology and Consecration next turn, it would be a clear because he's guaranteed the Elven Archer.
So Zalae pushes 12 here. PNC goes to 13. So if he Lava Bursts him right now, he goes down to 8, and then would go down to what? He'd take 5 more heal for 2, so he'd go to 5 on the following turn.
So Kobold Lackey plus Weaponized Wasp would be a lethal setup.
Yep.
Little time.
With 5 mana available.
5 mana available, yep, exactly.
I mean, what else are you doing this turn?
That's the question.
Burning a card and not doing anything?
I like it. We can see the hands. We know that it is a Consecrate turn. Zalae does not have that information.
I guess you'd burn a card anyway, because the Evil Totem would put a Lackey.
You just replace Lava Burst with a totem. Yeah, with a Lackey, yeah.
So if that's the case, you're not burning a card. It's... well, next turn, he can still Lava Burst, Kobold Lackey, Weaponized Wasp.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't actually change anything.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Burns a card either way.
Yep.
He conceals damage. Maybe that forces PNC to play differently.
Yep.
So actually, I think the hold is better if that's the case, because you conceal 10 damage from hand.
Yes. He even has Hero Power Kobold Lackey Weaponized Wasp on the following turn. He doesn't even have to use the Lava Burst, so even setting out for a long game, it's better to do it that way, but oh, come on! I just want to see it happen one time! Is that so much to ask?
Spellward Jeweler burned.
My entire life is cursed to the point that I'm never going to know how relevant Spellward Jeweler is in this matchup.
Well, judging by the state of the game right now, it looks like it's not going to even matter. So whether or not he draws Spellward Jeweler or not, I don't think is something that Zalae really cares about. I think it's more, how do I kill my opponent? And that's by holding on to all this damage in my hand. Even a significant amount of just board reload with Faceless Lackey, plus the hero power. So everything checked, and he's going to force board removals for the next few turns from PNC, which means PNC, how does he most efficiently navigate all this? Crystology will only draw an Acolyte of Pain.
So I think you can clear this board without taking damage, right? If you go Pyro, Crystology, Consecration, and then Elven Archer, the 5/1.
Yes.
Which Seems like the smart way to go about things. Excellent. Nicholas True Silver swings. Yep. All right, glad we got that in, PNC. We had this talk.
Hand is too full.
Definitely didn't need that one.
Yeah. So these are the turns that, honestly, I find the hardest.
Sure.
Because there's not an obvious solution. You want to build a board, but then you want to build a board that's resilient. There's also, you know, do I push a little bit of damage here? Can I unload a weaponized wasp after I Faceless Lackey? Like, do I Bog Slosher, and then what do I Bog Slosher?
Right.
These turns can obviously be the hardest. I think Faceless Lackey is the only kind of determined play because it builds a board with 1 card and 3 mana. But then after that, you can just build another board, play Bog Slosher, play a 5/5 Faceless Lackey, and then get a couple more drops on the board.
Right.
But then is board space on your mind at that point? Like, Zephyrs could be active with 11 cards in deck next turn.
So what I want to do this turn is deal some amount of damage to my opponent so I have lethal from hand on the following turn.
Okay.
And build a board that forces them to remove it because it threatens lethal on its own. So I want lethal on board and lethal in hand. And I believe that is what Zalae is currently achieving. So with me only having to describe what I wanted to happen and Zalae having to actually find the play that did it, well done, Zalae. I think this is perfect.
Yeah.
This means that board clear plus timeout has to happen this turn, or board clear plus massive healing has to happen this turn.
Well, I mean, this is about as ideal as it can get. That's perfect or near perfect mana for Consecration, Shirvala, and Baleful Banker. Then the Elven Archer gets to go into the Bog Slosher, and Shirvala gets to go into the Kobold Lackey, which is a board clear and gain 7 life. Problem is, his follow-up after that is pretty limited because he only cards all you would have available is Acolyte of Pain, and his hand would be Baleful Banker, Acolyte of Pain, and a non-active Zephyrus.
Let me think.
It's fine. That's what those 2 prismatic lenses in your deck are for.
If he can find them. And with the first Holy Wrath used, you can feel free to shuffle this Shirvala back into the deck. So the hold on the Lava Burst make even more sense now, but I guess he does have Siamat.
Yeah, Siamat Divine Shield is a very nice way to take care of this, but it is very expensive in comparison to how efficient the rest of your hand is. Part of the reason why I'm not a huge fan of Siamat in the deck in general is just for that exact reason. It just seems incredibly expensive to do a thing compared to what the rest of your cards do.
Yeah. But Zalae still has some opportunities for lethal here. If he gets double Kobold Lackey from the Sludge Slurper.
I wonder.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he'd have still 1 mana to spare at the end. Yep. Does mean he is not Siamatting this turn.
So he'll do a second Sludge Slurper, but now that he sees the first one not giving any Kobold Lackeys, it's very low likelihood that he finds it, and maybe he wants to expend his mana differently because of that.
Right. He's now kind of also locked into either Lava Burst or Weaponized Wasp on this Shirvala if he wants to take care of it without healing.
So 7, 8 damage on board. If this board doesn't get removed, he does have Goblin Lackeys plus Lava Burst. So again, does present lethal. And finally, Prismatic Lens Strong, which means Zephyrus is active.
Whoo! That is a draw right there.
Still a Shirvala left in the deck, and if that flips with Holy Wrath, your chances of winning become quite slim.
Let me think.
Zalae's just at 15. It's fine. You can just get there. Don't worry about it.
Sure. I mean, that's exactly an Ashbringer.
Yep.
I mean, don't worry about the fact that Zalae still has 2 Life Drinkers in his deck.
I wonder.
Anything particularly fancy from Zephyrus here? Cabal Shadow Priest, not really good enough. 2/6 Taunt, not going to cut it.
I must move quickly.
Dread Infernal's bad. Barongeddon is bad. Just going through all the weird ones that you get sometimes.
Twisting Nether.
Yeah, Twisting Nether does seem like the play.
Yep.
You know the reload's coming, right? Like, you just know the reload's coming.
Yep. I think PNC knows that he's not going to be able to attack into any minions.
Right. But it's like, what 4 cards plus 3 lackeys don't make Zalae a massive board this turn? That's the problem, right? I guess the overload for 2 helps.
So this is actually... I think I'd like a Siamon turn here with Divine Shield Wind Fury. I'm trying to think of a punish. Oh, there's still
Copy of Subdue not used yet?
a copy of Subdue and a Shrink Ray not used. So
Yeah.
maybe that becomes less appealing because of that. But that's why he's taking so long before he makes his first action, because as soon as he presses that hero power, Siamon no longer becomes an option.
Right.
He can try and dig deeper. I mean, there's still life triggers in his deck, so Novice Engineer all of a sudden becomes more appealing because of that, and he's only a little damage short at this point if you throw a life trigger into the mix. But I'm gonna go with the Siamon. Force Subdue / Shrink Ray to be in the hand, or else PNC is gonna die.
Got him.
But with Hero Power Goblin Lackeys, this still can, even after Subdue, can still represent 10 damage.
10, yeah.
So 11 on board. This
It's
is
a
actually a
lethal-
lethal
it's a
setup
lethal
from
setup
Zalae.
through the shrink,
Through the Shrink Ray and the Subdue. So a nice setup from Zalae. I think if you don't make a play that sets up lethal with like Novice Engineer, let's say Novice Engineer whiffs.
Right.
If you don't make a play that sets up lethal, even if you consider those things.
Okay.
And it looks like...
That nearly made some magic happen. If that was second Flash of Light, the spell, PNC was in business.
Well, we can see, because we can see both players' hands and see the fact that Zalae has lethal through Subdue.
Yeah.
We can see that this 1 in 8 Holy Wrath is the play.
Correct.
But I don't think PNC will see it. I think he's just going to Acolyte of Pain and Subdue. Yep.
Zalae gives a smile. He's got PNC exactly where he wanted him this game. Wonder whether you ever are supposed to play around it, because Kobold Lackeys and Goblin Lackeys are the same in this spot, right?
They're 4 damage with
both
a
4
Wind Fury
damage. So it's any 2 combinations with 2 lackeys on board of 2 lackeys that were specifically saved.
But then there's a Lava Burst, which is kind of the
Good
X
point.
factor there.
Yes, all right, excellent point.
So
Yeah, fair enough.
I
Fair
do
enough.
not blame PNC at all, even if you consider 3 damage lackeys.
Yes.
So if it was triple Goblin Lackey there,
That wasn't lethal.
that was 15 damage.
Yeah.
So he would have needed something else. But like double damage Lackey plus life trigger.
Yeah.
Or, you know, single damage Lackey. No, you can't do single damage Lackey, double life trigger. But double life trigger is 12. Double life trigger is lethal as well. Unless he had played a Sludge Stripper last turn and was overloaded, but I don't think he was. So a lot of ways that he dies, but from PNC's perspective, a 1 in 8. As opposed to hoping that you would get at least one more turn and Acolyte draws a card and you have a timeout and whatever else in your deck.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable. I was failing to account for the Lava Burst just being a completely random factor of the spell. Again, it's a spell that's been held for a very long time, but I think in that regard, 12.5% doesn't seem that exciting when it's a 3-card combination of like a 5-card hand that they'd need to have to kill you. I think pretty reasonably played from both sides. Or very well played from Zalae's side, because he was the one that was setting all that up. On multiple occasions, he found like the perfect amount of things to play to threaten lethal.
While still holding on to enough resources
Yes.
to make sure that if PNC did the thing that prevented lethal,
Yes.
that he would have stuff to be able to reload with.
He saw that the lava burst didn't change anything on that first turn, which was right. He got the setup with like bouncing the Kobold Lackey and then replaying it as a 5/5. So we had lethal on board and lethal in hand, which was important. And then that Siamat at the end there, playing the extra Titanic Lackey alongside it, which is not only just like vanilla better against Shrink Ray, which is one of the punishes, because you have an extra 1/1 on board. That one extra damage was actually what gave him the lethal setup on the following turn through Shrink Ray or Subdue, which is, as you said at the start of the turn, oh, maybe I don't want to do that because he still has a Shrink Ray and Subdue. Zalae's like, no, one step further, my friends. I'm just going to set up lethal through that option.
Mwah.
Yeah, very nicely done.
And also by holding on to that lava burst for that long in the game and holding on to damage for that long in the game, it forced Zalae off a different path. Let's say he does go for Novice Engineer, like try and find Life Drinker, play Life Drinker, put him at a lower life total. Maybe PNC feels more pressured to play the Holy Wrath. And maybe in those 1 in 8 scenarios, he wins the game. So,
yeah, but still, like, even with that bad a draw, that is a good matchup for Paladin, and you can kind of see it at the end there where that went as well as possible for Zalae.
He did burn his Spellward Jeweler.
He did burn his Spellward Jeweler, but if you have 2 evil totems on board that generate you infinity lackeys, and you then get so sick of them that you kill them yourself, because
and then still have a full hand,
exactly.
enough to discard cards
Right.
and negate 1 lackey that you gain.
That's how you know things are going well, and like PNC still has outs in that situation. Like I said, if he'd have picked up second Flash of Light alongside that Pyromancer off the Prismatic Lens, he had a really, really strong turn to respond to what Zalae was doing, and at that point, with PNC healing and clearing the board, Zalae's hand for the first time was just gassing out just a little bit. He still has that 1 more Lackey Generator and the Novice Engineer, but they need to find him important, impactful things straight away, or suddenly PNC gets 1 free turn to just do whatever they like. And in that position, PNC would be comfortable, just, Prismatic Lens number 2, Acolyte of Pain, whatever else, draw a bunch of cards, set up a win condition for themselves.
Yeah, and I want to talk about some of the implications of this matchup in general, since both these players are at the bottom of the standings. If Zalae wins this, he goes up to 5-7, which actually, with a few matches remaining and a couple players not having played their matchups this week, does put him within range of playoffs. Because if he ends the week at 5-7, a couple players end the week at 6-6. He knocks PNC down, which means that he gets a little more comfortable in relegation, and it also means that one of these 6 and 5 players loses their matchup later this week, goes to 6-6. He's within 1 game of a playoff spot.
Yes. It's a both win. It's a huge win both ways, right? Because he would also put 2 matches between himself and Race, with Race only having 3 matches left to play at that point. So Race would need to clean sweep to not take it down to tiebreakers if Zalae were to be the one end up getting relegated.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show that real quick, just because we talk about relegation all season. We talk about the pressure that the players at the bottom of the standings feel, but with playoffs moving to 4 players instead of 3, as it was in Season 1, once you start to get out of the conversation for relegation, you're automatically within the conversation for playoffs when you have like a normal pan out of standings, like a normal distribution of standings. So yesterday we were talking about how much pressure he was feeling because he's close to relegation, and then if he wins today, we get to talk to him about, hey, you can qualify for playoffs. How does that, where does that start to play into your mind?
We get good mood Zalae.
That's what we're looking for. Good mood Zalae seems like it's always, if you're in a winner's interview, it's good mood Zalae.
That's
so
true. Yeah,
when he's you're always talking to him when he's in a good mood, and you're never talking to him when he's in a bad mood, which is kind of funny. But taking a look at the decks that remain, Warrior Paladin for PNC and Druid Priest for Zalae, and it is a Malagos Druid.
We just got word that it's going to be a matchup that we really don't see that often, because when it comes out, when it's part of the lineup, we often see one player banning away so that we don't get this option. It's going to be the Malagos Druid going up against the Warrior.
Yeah, and that makes sense. PNC can, pretty accurately conclude that Zalae is going to go with the Malagos Druid because he doesn't want to queue Priest because of the Warrior on the other side. And if you look at his 2 matchups, I feel like Warriors may be better.
Than Holy Wrath Paladin?
Yes.
Against Malagos Druid.
Against Malagos Druid. Because Malagos Druid has 2 paths to victory, right? Against Holy Wrath Paladin, where because they play double Ferocious Howl, they have the armor out of range. And they also have, you know, they can kill you quickly because you are limited to 30 health.
So my counter to that is, how does Control Warrior ever stop?
He has double Hecklebot.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just looked at the list and didn't. Somehow I just saw Militia Commander and just missed the Hecklebots. Okay, with 2 Hecklebots, maybe we could have that discussion. I think without those, it's very, very one-sided.
Yeah, so without Hecklebots, you're going to die.
You actually just die, yes.
Unless you're playing Bomb Warrior, maybe, because you can start to pressure them. But even then, like, they have so much life gain. And they also have tempo tools. It's not like a combo deck that just kind of draws cards and dies. It's a combo deck that plays 2 5/5s on turn 5. And whenever they draw cards, they're playing a free 3/5 and gaining mana. Like, that's... So I understand with the Hecklebots, and I think, you know, a lot of the players in America have probably double Hecklebot Warrior. I think it's specifically because of the popularity of Malagos last week.
Yep, makes sense.
And Holy Wrath Paladin, because it also has, you know, you pull a Baleful Banker or a Shirvala or Zephyrus in against Holy Wrath Paladin. It very much so increases your chances of being able to out-armor, you know, the combo.
I will say that there is a lot of redundancy in minions in Malagos Druid, so sometimes you can still afford to lose one, even against Control Warrior, and still have infinity damage. The Dream combo that you're generally going for against armor decks is to Dream Petal Florist, Innovate, Flute, when you have Elise and Malagos in your hand. That's the one combination that can never go wrong. Like, there's no, like, failure rate with your Dream Petal Florist or hitting the wrong minion. Like, you always get into a position where your next turn is then infinity damage.
And you have a lot of damage, but because you have so much redundancy with your combo and so many different ways to do the combo, it makes Hecklebot even more effective, because that means there's more things to pull from the deck that reduce the amount of damage that you can deal.
Yes.
You have Malagos, Florist, Flute, Elise. Sometimes you could throw Lodi into that mix, because a stealth Lodi on the board can sometimes, you know, increase that range.
Yeah, if you've duplicated enough Moonfires, that Lodi damage really adds up.
It does.
But yeah, obviously, if you hit the Malagos with your Hecklebot, then it's good night. I think every other minion that you hit, the Malagos Druid still has game against you, even as Control Warrior.
Yep. He's zooing him. This is Zoo Warrior.
Heck yeah. I honestly feel like this is like the more likely way that you're going to get the job done.
At least force them off of card draw.
Exactly, yeah. Just say to your opponent, well, if you want to nourish, you're going to take 10+ this turn. Zalae would just kill for that luxury right now. He would love to nourish and take 10 damage this turn.
Instead, he could go Hidden Oasis, double Anubisat Defender.
Seems good.
But he dumps his hand, and the only card draw he has available is Crystal Merchant. But I think at this point, you just have to hope that nourishes into your next couple cards.
Right.
And his other play would be Crystal Merchant Pass.
There are lots of very icky things about this turn. 4/5 Divine Shield going into your 6/6. Don't like that. Restless Mummy just fully on board, still with Reborn. Don't like that either. Zalae, really not too many other options in front of him, though.
But this will allow him to clear a lot of minions from PNC's board.
Right.
In fact, I think it would take just about everything. Restless Mummy deals with the Restless Mummy on board, deals with the Hidden Oasis. Talon Crier, Eternium Rover go into one of the Anubisat Defenders, and then the other Restless Mummy comes down and deals with the second Anubisat Defender.
Yes, he's pushing like 2 damage this turn.
He's pushing damage with Acolyte of Pain and Talon Crier, and he has a 4/5 Eternium Rover still left on board. Ziliax combo.
No tomb can hold me.
could also leave a 3-1 on board and trade out the Acolyte to get 1 card.
No tomb can hold me.
I think if Zalae wants to swipe or Starfall, you want your Acolyte in play.
Yeah, I agree.
Dead draw.
The most expensive crystal merchant in the world. There's a world where he just passes. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I think you have to play the crystal merchant.
Yep.
You just need nourish as fast as humanly possible.
Agreed.
Oasis Surger is something. Nourish Oasis Surger is something else. Downside of this is that PNC also gets to draw a card.
Yeah, that was the fear of playing the Crystal Merchant there, right? So you're essentially just exchanging card draw with your opponent. But I think as Malagos Druid, like, if you're in a position where your deck beats your opponent's deck, your card draw is more important than their card draw. If you both just sit there and draw your deck, you are going to win as the Malagos Druid.
That's why Cold Light Oracle was a staple
Yes.
in every single combo deck.
Absolutely.
And why Research Project made its way into a lot of mage combo decks.
Research Project 1HGG.
Yeah. When you put it that way. Card draw! Hecklebot!
Yeah, things are getting dicey. See the real downside of Zalae not drawing really any cards up until this point is that so many of his key minions still remain in the deck for that Hecklebot.
Yeah, he has a Crystal Merchant, a War Druid Lodi, an Elise the Enlightened, an Oasis Surger, Geppetto, and Malagos. So 7 minions.
No way to outright kill a Malagos that comes out right now, but he could Spellbreaker it, which is pretty much the same thing.
Same with like Dream Total Florist from his perspective.
Sure.
What now?
Geppetto might be annoying, but I guess that's out of the way, so you don't have to worry about those crazy, 1-mana combos.
Right.
At the same time, Zalae's kind of been playing to the far right side of his hand and making some relatively weak turns. So PNC can put him on a lot of dead cards, but to be fair, there are just a lot of dead cards in the deck already.
Yes.
Innervates, Moonfires. A lot of times swipes can sometimes be necessary for game-ending damage.
Yeah, Malagos could be over there. Elise could be over there. Geppetto probably would have been. No, I guess this is probably better than Geppetto this turn, yeah. So it could still be over there as well.
Yep. Looks like no Hecklebot this turn.
Somebody order a bomb.
Little dose of the PNCs that turn. He was considering shield block for a while, then the mech came down, then the hero power happened, and the attack happened, all in the space of the rope. I feel like he went through about 3 different plays in the last 10 seconds.
Who dares?
Finally, though, Zalae gets to take a turn that he's pleased with. Make some things and hit my opponent in the face, yes!
I'd still rather have a Nourish.
Oh, of course, yeah. In a heartbeat.
Yeah. But this does essentially deny Dr. Boom. Lodi.
Wah, wah. Zalae gives the nod. This plan makes sense though, right? Hold off for the 1 turn so that you can throw it in with the Brawl on the following turn. Okay, now PNC might just be kind of pleased that wasn't Malagos that came out.
Right on time.
All right, we got ourselves a game of Hearthstone.
Ooh.
Jeez, this hand just still has no act. Okay, there we go. This hand just still has nothing going on in it. It's much more exciting.
Can Innervate nourish? But there's not really anything he can dump. There's Pounce, there's second Innervate. Crystal Merchant, because it wouldn't draw a card at that point because he'd have 2. Oh, no, he'd have 3 mana remaining. Yeah, because he's not at 10, he's at 6.
Yeah.
So it's basically just Pounce and Worthy Expedition to try and find a 2 mana card to dump. So it might just be a...
Okay. Loop Scenarios. All right, so it gives up like the go-to vanilla combo that I was describing of Dream Petal, Innovate, Floop, but because he has Geppetto in his hand and important minions in his deck, Elise and Malagos still in his deck, he's saying, I don't need to guarantee these big Dream Petal discounts on those minions because I'm going to get them discounted off my Geppetto anyway.
Yeah. And sometimes Floop can be a little bit awkward because it like makes Dream Petal Forest sometimes less effective.
What
oddly enough. So
that's why you play it in the same turn with the Innovate.
That's why you play it in the same turn with the Innervate. But yeah, from his mind, he's far away off. He has Geppetto, which is still the key. Yeah, exactly what you said, just with a different, you know, funny twist on the end. Add a little TJ pizzazz to it. That's what it was.
You guys didn't see the hand gestures that accompanied that. They were spectacular. Oof. So how many minions does he have left now?
He has Crystal Merchant.
An Oasis Surger.
Oasis Surger, at least the Enlightened. And that's it.
Okay.
I believe.
So
Crystal
he
Merchant
can start to get into a little bit of trouble if this hits the 2 bad ones. It did not. He's in business.
And he still has a 2 of left in his deck. Starfall. Innervate Crystal Merchant?
Seems decent.
Time waits for no one.
Needs to work out whether he needs this Innovate duplicated for damage, but that seems unlikely based on the amount of Moonfires and Swipes he's going to end up duplicating.
He could also discard a card
to keep an Innovate?
Keep an Innervate.
I don't like it.
His deck is Innervate. Innervate, Pounce.
Starfall, Starfall.
Starfall, Starfall.
What? Plus 1 more because he's just drawn 1.
Oh, Innervate, Pounce, Starfall, Starfall.
Oasis Surger.
Oasis Surger.
Yep.
So, Pounce maybe is. I don't know. It'd be in the far right, so it'd be impossible to duplicate. But
yeah, I just don't necessarily think he needs that Innovate on the far left of his hand this game because the Elise cards duplicate from left to right now due to a recent patch. He just wants maximum Moonfires being duplicated. So all of the cards that are over on that left-hand side are just prime candidates to get used, including that Dream Petal Florist, which is coming down very soon, I'm sure. He might be in a world where he Elises first. Because if he just Dream Petals now, he can hit the Elise, which is kind of useless. Interesting.
Defend the gates!
and he has to dump.
A lot.
Not a lot. No, a lot, yeah, because he needs the extra damage to use the flute.
Yep.
Well, something else to dump. So if he Starfalls in Elise... but if he Elises first, then he puts a Dream Petal Forest in hand.
Exactly, yeah. It starts to get very awkward. So just Malagos Quad Moonfire is 24 damage, which is unlikely to be enough in the matchup. And because the Floop is already gone, you can't A, do the setup I was talking about with the Dream Petal Innovate Floop, and you also can't ration out damage over 2 turns. You can't go...
You can swipe face this turn.
Yeah, you can't go Malagos Quad Moonfire into like flooped Malagos plus swipes on the following turn or anything like that.
Yeah. If he swipes face this turn, he nets the damage that he'd lose by waiting for Malagos since Floop's gone.
Yeah.
Because he'd get to push the 6 from Geppetto.
He can get that same damage by dumping the second Starfall as well, though, and then still have swipes.
But I guess he would have enough mana for Malagos double swipe.
Depending on whether he's on a Dream Petal plan or not, like it's a very different situation. Because technically, this just sets up lethal on the following turn.
Yeah. He more than likely not, because he'd have to not kill the Geppetto and not armor up.
Yeah. I mean, it never actually happens, but it technically is a lethal setup.
Yeah. But PNC's been holding on to this burst of armor. Last 2 cards are a Pounce and a Worthy Expedition. No, he's played the Worthy Expedition. So, what did I even say before?
So the Oasis Surger got pulled out. He's got the 2 Starfalls.
Oh,
so
it's a
Wrath?
Pounce? No, he's used Wrath. Oh, Innervate.
Pounce and Innovate, yeah.
Pounce and Innervate. So his damage is... PNC can calculate max damage, which would be a discounted Malagos with Elise copying the double Moonfire and double Swipe, which in a single turn would be 24 plus 18. $42 plus an additional 8 the next turn, so
well, no,
50 over 2 turns.
If you have 1 mana Malagos in your hand, you would duplicate the Malagos and play 2 Malagos. Malagos, yeah.
But Malagos is on the far right, and he has a Nourish in hand.
Right.
But PNC doesn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if PNC is trying to calculate what 1 mana Malagos looks like right now, it's more damage for Zalae to have played 2 Malagos and then a bunch of spells than 1 Malagos and all the swipes.
Yeah.
What to do?
So if that's the case, is Zalae in a world where he has to dump a Nourish? And then there's the Pounce. So what does he have? 52 damage over 2 turns if he can't duplicate the discounted Malagos?
Right.
And there's also the chance that he plays Dream Petal Forest and discounts the Elise.
So if he
Time waits for no one.
pounces now and Elises this turn, no, he has to pounce, then play the Dream Petal Florist, then play the Elise. This way he's duplicating a Dream Petal Florist. So you could have played the Dream Petal Florist, then played the Elise afterwards, right? And then he has 2 Malagos in hand, one of which is always getting discounted. No, the Malagos doesn't even get doesn't get duplicated there. So he has 1 Malagos in hand that gets duplicated, plus 4 Moonfires, plus 2 swipes.
Well, he'd have 1 Malagos that's duplicated, or 1 Malagos that's reduced, and 1 Malagos that's not reduced.
Yes, if he had enough hand space for the Malagos to even get duplicated, which I'm not sure he did.
He would have played 3 cards, and he was at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think he would have got the Nourish extra, but not
8.
the Mali.
He would have played 3 cards. No, he would have duplicated because he would have played 3 cards.
Okay, I'll believe you.
Because he had Moonfire, Dream Petal Forest, Moonfire, Swipe, Nourish, Malagos, and then he had Elise and Pounce. Oh no, he had another swipe.
Yes.
It depends where the other swipe was.
Yeah.
The other swipe was to the left of the Malagos.
Yes,
so he would not have gotten Malagos.
Right.
I'm out of cards.
But his Mally was guaranteed discounted that turn, I believe, which is the important thing.
One Mally was guaranteed.
Yes, yeah. The
Yeah.
other Mally doesn't exist. We don't care about it. It doesn't happen.
Well, because he played Elise first, there was no other Mally.
Yes. Now, he still gets there, but it takes him a couple of extra turns because he loses that 50-50 on the Dream Petal.
Well,
This would be a
I
good
don't
time
know if
for
he
a
gets
master
there.
plan.
Because now he plays Malagos, Quadruple Moonfire, Double Swipe, which is 42.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 42, yes.
PNC's at 42.
This
Yep.
would be a good time
With
for
Weapons
a master
Project in hand.
plan.
Yep.
And somewhat ways to deal with the Malagos, or at least nullify its effect.
Right.
And any Blast Shield
Oh, I love that view.
ruins it.
Now, we've seen this once. There has to be a weapons project this turn. In reality, in the actual state of the game we're in, there doesn't. But the correct play from PNC is to weapons project, because he can account from 442 from the opponent here if the Malagos was discounted.
So actually, PNC does need a form of armor gain, because he's at exactly 42 if you account for the 6 damage from Weapons Project.
He has Dillo, though, to taunt out the other 2 swings.
Well, if Zalae times it correctly, he goes with the combo with the swipes the turn that he would play
Sure.
Omega Dillo and kills him.
Very fair.
Which means that... Yeah, PNC's counting. He's like, well, if he didn't kill me that turn, then there... Oh, no, because his Malagos wasn't
Okay,
reduced.
then.
Exactly, yes. PNC had to play around the Malagos being reduced, and because he did, he wasn't dead that turn either way.
Yeah.
So the fact that he didn't die last turn actually has, or should have, 0 impact on his thinking. If he's
Yes.
like giving Zalae credit for having duplicated a strong hand of
But-
swipes and moonfires, which he kind of
Okay,
knows he has.
then.
We can see that PNC has a solvable way to win from our perspective, but not from his perspective. Because while this turn, it didn't matter if he died last turn, because he saw that the Dream Petal Forest was reduced, so he knows that the possibility of Malagos is not there. So he plays a Taunt now to get rid of the damage from Weapons Project.
Why do you do it this way around?
Because now, in order for Zalae to get the damage through, he has to go on with the combo now, and then he plays our Mega Dillo and Spellbreaker afterwards.
Oh, with Spell... Yes, okay, Spellbreaker is the big
Yeah.
difference. Yep. That's the part I was missing.
So this forces PNC to go down. PNC thinks he's dead. You can see him shake the head. He thinks he's dead. I think he's 2 damage off.
2 off, yep.
I hope I didn't do the maths incorrectly.
You did not.
Okay. Now PNC saying you need a way to stop this weapons project from swinging in.
It's game.
I'm almost out of cards.
Not quite. The 412 still has to die at some point. Okay, that Tomb Warden is game.
Well, I think the Armageddillo Spellbreaker...
It's-
oh, yeah. Because then Zalae has to... Oh, no, you're right.
You okay over there?
Yeah.
So the Dillo
Okay,
Spellbreaker
then.
was sometimes still beatable because your 412 can beat those minions on board and still connect with face in weird worlds, but now that he has the Tomb Warden to follow
Yeah.
that up as well, like that completely locks it out.
Yeah, because Armageddillo, he would attack with Malagos, Weapons Project the Armageddillo, and then he would have a 4-8 Malagos versus a 4-3 Spellbreaker.
Correct.
This would be
And
a
PNC
good
would have
time
to
for
kill
a
it.
master
Yes.
plan.
Granted, there's Plague of Wrath,
Yeah.
and the Weapons Project would have been gone.
that
So
Yep.
I think at that point it's just 100% win for PNC unless he just does not play
Yeah, you might be right.
Armageddillo and Spellbreaker this turn.
You might be right, I mean, if PNC's tracking, he knows that this Malagos having spell damage is actually completely irrelevant at this point anyway.
But he needs the extra body to contest on board, so that way Zalae can't hold on to the Weapons Project swing and just kill the Armageddon over 2 turns. So...
I mean, again, the 2 Morden in hand kind of makes all that irrelevant anyway. Like, PNC, that 2 Morden draw really just made Zalae be able to do whatever he wanted.
He actually had to check for it. It would work out the same way because the Weapons Project swing would go face if he traded both these minions in. But the 2 Morden will lock it out of the game.
Yep.
Holy moly! That was a very difficult game and one that was very close.
I concede.
PNC gives himself the round of applause. Very important.
Yeah.
Nicely done, PNC. Super tough deck to pilot the Malagos Druid. Like, I don't even know if all the things we said in the end game scenarios were accurate to the situation. We were struggling to like track exact hand cards to get duplicated. I do know though that as soon as the Floop goes down the drain, you can end up with the imperfect setup. Like, that Floop really is key because it gives you that one solution where nothing goes wrong. But that's not to say that every time you play the matchup, you can just hold on to the Floop the entire game, right? Yeah. Like, Zalae was under pressure, a disproportionate amount of pressure than you would normally be under in the early game. Felt like he needed to fight for board, and maybe that was justified. I'm no Mali Druid expert. I just know a few things about the deck here and there that I've picked up over time. But it's a really, really, really difficult deck to play. And
the focal point is on the Malagos Druid in this matchup, and you can see just how difficult it is because of the fact that we barely focused on like PNC's, like how efficient he was armor gaining.
Forget about that guy.
Like two damage off lethal.
Yeah.
Weapons Project timing ended up being exactly perfect. Because if he had gained that burst of armor too late, then Zalae kills him. If he gains it too early, then Zalae negates it with the 3 swings before he can get taunts down.
Right.
So very thin margins at the end of it all. But we do have PNC ready for a winners interview. Hey PNC, can you hear us?
Yeah. Hey guys.
Hey, so 5-7, moving on up in the standings. I feel like the last time we spoke to you, we were talking to you about the pressure of relegation, but moving up to 5-7 with how close your division is overall, this means that you do have a shot at playoffs now. How does that feel?
I mean, I'm not gonna think about playoffs. if it happens, it happens. But yeah, I go more terrible things to worry about right now.
Yeah, just one game at a time. But that last game was probably pretty stressful from your position just because it's hard to tell exactly what's happening in the Malagos Druid's hand. But from your perspective, how did those last 10 or so turns feel once Zalae started to acquire the combo?
And it was very stressful. But the fact that he played the Floop early, like, I don't know, like it changed the matchup. Like, I'm usually I don't see Mali Druids playing Floop like that. So actually, no one ever did that to me. Like, not playing Floop for tempo and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's very new to me. But
did that make you more nervous because you're thinking he just has everything he needs already to play the Floop, or did you feel a little bit more comfortable after that point and you could more accurately predict how much damage he could do?
I mean, at one point, like he hadn't played Florista yet, but I was okay. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna double Mali. But then I realized, oh wait, he didn't play Florista yet. What am I thinking? Like, I'm fine now. I just need to play around like the 44, like 4 Moonfires, and like I don't know. Like, it was very complicated game, but I'm glad it worked out for me.
So how far out did you have that setup plan? Because I think the last couple of turns, you had like 15 different ways to win the game. It was 1 at that point, but like the 3 or so turns before that, like you perfectly had that spot where you were like 2 outside of lethal and was kind of checkmate at that position. Like, how many turns was that being planned out?
Yeah, the weapons project, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that one was very clear that I was going to die if I didn't play it. So, like, I don't know, like, I was thinking about the possible combos a couple of turns before that, but I realized that was the key turn to play Weapons Project. And also, like, it helped me that I had the taunts left, so I could, like, stop the Weapons Project from hitting me. Like, I don't know. It was a very weird game.
Yeah, but now Do you feel kind of a little bit of pressure lifted off your shoulders? You have a 2-game separation with Race. You have a 2-match separation with Race, 1-match separation with Zalae now. Do you feel like a little bit of, kind of stress lifting off your shoulders going into, kind of these last few matches for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. This is the first 2-0 week that I have in Season 2, so also it's very important for my confidence and be ready for next week. I'm playing Race next week, so...
Yeah, well,
it's gonna be nice.
I mean, that's a big one because if Ray starts to pick up wins, then that could be stressful. Not to put any more pressure on an already high-pressure situation.
Yeah, I think Race is playing Zalae as well, so it's like super. It's gonna be good to watch.
Yeah, well, it makes it exciting
not
for
for
us.
For me, but for people watching. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah,
trust me, it does. Well, PNC, congratulations on the win and 2-0 week. Very big for you. So congratulations. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.